What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 8 of the Amateur Expert Show. The concept of the show is to talk with people and to ask them, to share their career path and to learn about their journey, the success they've made, the failures that they've made, what their idea of success is, and how it's changed over the course of their journey. Today we are talking to Jay Allen, and he's in the room, so I'm going to add him in now. Just waiting for him to join us. There he is.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Good. How are you, Jay?
I'm doing well. Very well.
Glad to have you on today's 8th episode. So if you could, please tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing. I'm Jay Allen. I'm from North Carolina, currently living in Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. I am an area sales operations manager for a company called Caterpillar Financial. Been with them now 13 years. Also own the credit repair business as well.
Awesome. So when you were a young lad, what did you want to be when you grew up?
It's funny. I want to be a doctor, and I don't know why. I think it's because whenever you talked about career paths or at school, it was always like doctor, lawyer, always came up nonstop. So it just sounded like a good idea. And I can't say for sure that I had a real passion behind that. I knew they help people, and that's a passion of mine. So it just seemed like it fit. And I heard they made really good money.
That is usually a motivating factor for a lot of things that we do.
Yeah.
So, from reading your bio, I know that you went to school. Mm-hmm. Did you pursue biology at first, or or college, I should say? When did you when you decide that being a doctor wasn't going to be your thing?
You know, it's funny. I can't tell you an exact day, but I did notice that in high school, when people started kind of taking classes that were close to what they want to do in college, like biology, nursing, or mechanics, I wasn't interested in anything that they were doing. Okay. I just knew that I was good in math and numbers, and communicating was my thing. Writing was definitely a strong suit of mine. And math was my thing back then. You know, it's funny. I went to college and with no plan. I knew I had to go to college. I was told, hey, college is the way. It wasn't really an option, and that's kind of what I followed. And I declared my major because I got a letter in the mail. They told me, hey, you've been here 2 years with no major. So I was taking all these random classes just to be in college, and right. I hadn't yet actually decided what I wanted to be. But I had taken a business class, like the basic business class, and I found that I enjoyed it. Okay. I liked the people that I was around and the conversations about business and operating, and making money, leading people, and it seemed like my thing. So hey, you know what? It involves numbers somewhere. It involves people somewhere. Let's give it a try. And that's probably not the most prolific story, but that's kind of how I fell into business finance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you were at that stage, what was your idea of success?
Back then it was money. But people always talked about, six figures. And back then I thought about success in terms of numerical. I never thought about it outside of those. That RAM was always about, getting a good job. But interning was just like, A&T had a really good relationship with other companies. So interning was a very good thing to do back then. It still is. And so interning was always pushed towards us. And then after that, you get with a company and you just grind. At some point, get an MBA and keep climbing up the ladder, obviously to obtain more money.
Did you have a company in mind that you wanted to work for when you were in that stage as well?
No idea. We had huge career fairs back then. So, and obviously people came to speak. in our classrooms all the time. So that's kind of how I got exposed.
Okay.
And if you had told me, I guess now it would be 15 years from now, I would be in construction finance, living in Kansas City, I would have told you it, no way, that's
No
not
way.
possible, you know. But that back then, that's was my viewpoint of success.
So tell me, you said you work in construction finance. What is
Mhm.
that? What does that mean?
So Caterpillar, huge company, the big yellow machines, and they're very expensive. People can always just come in and just buy cash. So I am with Caterpillar Financial. We are a fully owned subsidiary of Caterpillar Inc., and we are the bank of Caterpillar. I kind of make reference to it in terms of we are the GMAC for GM Motors. So
Okay.
basically, we have people around the country who own Cat dealerships who are privately owned, and they buy from the manufacturer. They sell to the consumer, and my job is to intersect that sale and make sure that they're financing it with Caterpillar Financial, not with our competitors, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. My job is to be in place and be present as a consultant to add value to our customers in several ways such that they want to be with us.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, and you've been doing it for 13 years, so that
Yeah.
sounds like it's a passion of yours, or at least you're really good at it.
I like to think so. This role now that I'm in is very unique. I'm a field rep now, so I work remotely. I cover a territory that spans from Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and I actually had Wyoming as well. So
Okay.
that part of my territory is now gone. But it the way I get exposed to out here, every day is different. Every day is changing. The client's needs change. Different issues. A lot of problem solving is an everyday thing for me. It's always something to figure out. So that's it's always forever changing. I'm always on my toes.
Well, that's good because I think a lot of people think that if you work in finance, that you're sort of um, tied to an office with a calculator and crunching numbers all day. So that's
Well,
that seems.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
actually, I didn't cut you off.
No, it's okay.
I was gonna say that was my life for the previous 10 years. Everything that I've done up until this point has prepared me for this job. I was the guy crunching numbers, whether it was credit analysis, whether it was selling equipment, used equipment, repossessions, legal matters, bankruptcy. So I was that guy for a long time in the cubicle,
Hmm.
on the phone, just banging it out every day in that one place. And this job I'm in now, I actually pursued this job. I felt like it was time for me to stretch,
Yep.
and I felt like my background would hold strong, and thus far it has. It's been a good experience.
So, how has your idea of success changed from when you thought it was solely financial, or has it?
Uh, Absolutely, it changed a whole lot. It changed a whole lot. Now I realize that success truly involves a lot. It's a huge plethora of things. But I think number one being if you're happy. You know, I don't
Hmm.
know the science behind it. I won't try to use medical terms, but when you're unhappy, the brain releases certain chemicals in your body. That can make you sick, make you sad, make you depressed. And I think if you're doing something for money only and you're unhappy and you're constantly living that way, it can
Hmm.
have an adverse effect on your health. At the end of the day, our health is our true wealth. I mean, I've seen people obtain high levels in corporate America and be very unhappy
Hmm.
trying to obtain the next title or the next raise, next promotion, and then end up being unhappy and unhealthy. So
Yeah.
now, for me, success means being happy because it's my job to make me happy first. No one else, not a third party, not a position. If I'm not happy already, then that's my fault. So I have to make choices now. I think about my choices now. And I've actually foregone certain jobs recently that I've been offered. Like, hey, I thank you for the offer, but I really don't think I would be happy in that role. And
Mm.
I'm very serious about that. It would be more money for me in certain times, but I just know that for me, long term, it's not worth it. It's not what I want to do as far as being happy and healthy for myself. So success in total would definitely be happy and healthy. I could even go as far as are you working in your passion? Are
Right.
you are you truly doing what you feel like you're here on earth for? And that changes all the time. That's still something I'm trying to figure out for myself. And I know it involves people in some way, helping them in some way. It is probably going to involve finances and health, because those are four things that I would do for free. So I
Nice.
know that if that's how I really feel inside, that's probably some type of realm of those four things that come together at some point in my life. It'll form a really strong, spot for me.
That's awesome. So what so you said this job you pursued and it was sort of a stretch for you.
Mhm.
What sort of tips and motivators did you use during your career path to get you where you are, to keep you motivated, or yeah.
Whew, that's a good one. So first I'll start with this job. I was very intentional about wanting this job. When I first came into the corporate environment, I assumed, or I was told, I didn't know those unwritten rules. So it was grind, 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 because in college, if you grind, 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 and you get the grades, and then you get the GPA, like that was then you graduate, summa or kuma, and that was it. But in corporate, there's it's networking, it's being intentional about the path that you're on. So in
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, I came in, I was just kind of grinding, grinding, doing well in this job, doing well in that job, doing well in this job. And I noticed that a few of my colleagues were moving, maybe not necessarily faster, but in different directions
Mm-hmm.
than me. And in talking to them, what I noticed is that they had a mentor, they had a mentor, and they had identified a path that was maybe 4 years, 5 years in advance. And then they
Okay.
reverse engineered that path back to
Mm.
their current position, and then they move forward with a plan. So I was like if you can imagine what's a fast car, a Mustang just going full speed in one direction. That was me. No GPS involved. And I
Just
noticed
going.
that just going. A lot of accolades, congratulations, and you know, um, ice cream parties, and all that stuff that comes with they doing a good job. But I realized later, after I found a mentor within my organization and outside as well, and I wasn't being intentional. I had one manager tell me in my face, "Hey, everyone likes you here. You're doing a great job, but no one knows where you want to do. I mean, sorry, no
Mm.
one knows where you want to go.
Right.
So no one knows how to really approach you when jobs are coming open, because they have no idea. You haven't expressed verbally out loud what you want to do." So when I expressed this role, and then I sat down with a mentor, and I was able to once again reverse engineer it. I was able to then have a path towards this position.
Did you know what you wanted to do?
It took a while, and like I said, I've been a cat 13 years now. So I think around year 7, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This job is going to give me, it's going to allow me to stretch. It's going to allow me to be uncomfortable. It's going to allow me to use my skills that I've obtained um, in here in this corporate office and not in Tennessee to to strengthen my skills going forward.
Did having access to a mentor um, show you what was available to you? So before you had a mentor, or was it around the same time that you realized that this opportunity could be yours?
Uh, in the beginning, my mentor at the time that I had at my job really helped me to figure out what I like to do, because that kind of goes back to being happy again. And there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with doing things that you might not like to do, but I didn't want to be in a position to where I was miserable. I've seen people be miserable, and it shows every day in their attitude
Mm-hmm.
and how they present themselves at work and to other people. So that's where it started. Like Jay, what do you want? Like, what do you like? What do you enjoy? And I gave them my ideas, and then they gave me their ideas about myself, and we tried to see where they matched. And then that person actually had been where I once was, and that's important too. Is to find someone with social proof. And social proof meaning that they're not giving you theory, they're not giving you something out of a book. That person that I sought after myself was someone who had been there, done that, and was very did a very good job in that role. So they helped me to, reverse engineer or reinvent myself in such a way that I was prepared for this role.
That's awesome. I don't think I've ever heard that term, and I like it. So thank you for sharing that.
Which word was that?
The
Social
social
proof?
or the term, the social proof.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me, I got it from David Shands, so I want to give him credit. I didn't want to take that. He had a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, recently, and that was the name of it. So his entire guest panel was people who were doing at a high level what they taught.
Mm, that's so good.
Yep.
That's so good, because I think a lot of times when you're younger, and I'll speak for myself, you sort of speak to people who are on your level to try to figure out what is next or what your possibilities are. And not that that's a bad thing, but I do think that it's a good idea to be able
Mhm.
to speak to someone that can help you sort of create the path. And a
Right.
lot of
Right.
times people say, well, I think Jermaine Dupri said that get yourself a mentor. And even if it's someone that you can't have actual contact with, you can, so if it's someone who is infamous, right, you're able to see the track that they took, and you can sort of pattern that against yourself. So you're
Mhm.
never sort of without hope or without guidance
Right.
in
Yep.
that aspect.
And even if it's a book,
Mm-hmm.
if someone has a book out that they wrote, if you're in finance, I mean, you're probably reading something by maybe Warren Buffett, or if you're in business, maybe Jeff Bezos. Motivation like Eric Thomas or Inky Johnson. You know, I don't know Inky Johnson or Eric Thomas personally,
Right.
or Grant Cardone, but they've written books. They have podcasts. They have books out. They do conferences. Um, so though they're my mentors to me, they never met me
Mm-hmm.
before, and I had mentors for different things. So based on what the topic is and what my goal is, um, the mentor could change.
Yep.
So if it was obviously dog grooming, I wouldn't read a book about being an NFL quarterback. I would
Right.
find a great dog groomer who killed it,
Right.
and I would hone in on what they did well.
That's perfect. So another, I know that you're also passionate, like you said, about finance and
Mhm.
helping people. And so you had mentioned that you had created, or that you became a consultant of some sort. So do you want to
Yep.
talk about that?
So I am I launched a credit restoration franchise, and that all kind of started years ago in my mind, not as a concept in business, but I recognized the need. Uh, when I was so I spent 5 years as a credit analyst with my company, both unsecured and secured lending. And the thing that I noticed right away was that people have bad credit. People have bad credit, and then when I had to decline them, they were unaware of that bad credit.
Mm,
And obviously, as a finance professional, I could not give them credit advice,
right.
but I always advised them to search out certain periodicals, or go pull your credit report. A lot of them hadn't even pulled their credit reports in a long time. So that was my eye-opening experience to people do not understand credit and the power of credit, because
Right.
these people who were applying for these loans were applying to start businesses, and for some of them it was their only source of income. So for some people that I had to decline,
Right.
like I just kind of stopped their life from moving forward, and
Right.
that's not a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So years later, fast forward to Kansas City, and being there with no family there, and really no friends, but there's no office where I live. I'm like, man, what can I do to leverage my my financial background to start a part-time business?
Mm,
And that's kind of where I landed it's kind of between budget coaching and then credit restoration.
Okay.
I'm bringing budgeting in at some point, but right now it's just credit repair. So that's where that came from. It was just like, whoa, people need help. And now that I'm in this business, I'm talking to people that I know personally. It's like, wow, people really um, do not know the power of credit and what makes up FICO and why Credit Karma is not always correct. I mean, these are small
I was
tidbits,
I was
you
gonna
know.
ask you that.
Yeah, so Credit Karma uses what's called a Vantage score, and the Vantage score has a whole different calculation than your FICO score.
Right.
So based on your profile and how your profile falls in those characteristics like pay history, length of history, credit usage. For example, FICO for FICO pay history is 35% of
Okay.
your credit with your FICO score, but
Yeah.
for Advantage it's 40%.
Oh, so
So
that's use a number right there.
that can skew it totally. So if you're using your Credit Karma and trying to go buy a house and they pull your FICO, you're going to be surprised maybe because you could be
So
off by a lot.
my question is can people, you or companies, a lot of companies, and I feel like they target people who um, are minorities.
Hmm.
Um, they ask them to pay a lot of money, and they promise to delete things off of their credit report and things of that nature. Is is that real? I've always been a skeptic about that.
You can you anything on there that's negative can be disputed. If you ever Google the Fair Credit Reporting Act, right? That's a law that's in place by Congress that gives consumers the right to dispute anything on their report that's inaccurate, erroneous, or obsolete. Obsolete. So the credit bureaus are for-profit organizations. They're not government agencies. They have
Okay.
no governmental power. They are for-profit, which means they make money. They charge companies like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, these companies, they charge them to report out. So they're getting paid to report
Okay.
information. They're not
Okay.
verifying the information. They're
Got it.
reporting it. So if you ever heard anybody say anything like, hey, I got into a spat with someone, maybe a neighbor, and that tree fell on my house, and now I have a judgment. I put a judgment on there. That judgment will be reported on their credit report at some point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're not always verifying. So we're that the Fair Credit Reporting Act gives us the opportunity to dispute those things and make them prove per the law it's reported correctly. And they get
Got
30
it.
to 45 days maximum to respond to us. If not, then they have to take it off.
Okay.
So it's every situation is different. Based on your profile. Some people just have late pays, or I've seen people have bankruptcies and liens. So based on your profile, it's going to depend on how long it takes to get that done, but it could be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you'll definitely have to give your social handles at the end so that people can get
Okay.
in contact with you if they're interested in
Sure
having
thing.
you help them out.
Absolutely.
So, um, my last question would be if you could please enlighten me some way. I mean, you already have
All
a
right.
lot, but if you can just give me a random tidbit of information. I coined myself the amateur expert. I know a little bit about a lot, so it would be helpful if you can give me
I
something
love that.
else. Something else. And so I have to give credit where credit is due. My mom has always said that, so I sort of borrowed it from her.
Okay.
But yeah, if you can share with me something random Snapple fact, or something you remember from when you were a kid.
So give me, I guess, like a random fact to I guess like motivation or information or just a fact about myself.
It could be anything that you want.
Okay. I would say get exposure. I would say get exposure, and what I mean by that is our mind will expand as we expose ourselves to new things, new opportunities. Um, the way we look at the world is usually shaped by where we lived and who we're around and things we hear. And people don't realize it, but fear is transferable, and but
Mm-hmm.
so is optimism, and so is
Hmm.
so is hope. So, and what I mean by that is that I know people who to this day won't fly on planes, right? And I'm like, why not? You know, you can have a car crash, probably,
Right.
and they're like, well, you fall out of the sky. I'm like, yeah, you could fall out of the sky. I totally agree with that. But then when I meet their parents won't fly or would
Right.
not fly. And I think about it, that little kid probably from birth, has always heard flying and death
Yep.
are together. So
Yep.
I would say getting in some new environments, invest in that. This year, I've decided to spend a lot of money being in a proper environment. So I enjoy different conferences, meeting new people, and just hearing different conversations. Having my mind just because it's like you have to be broke down sometimes and then be rebuilt back up.
I
So
completely agree.
people are currently disrupting my whole thought process, and I'm enjoying it.
Good.
And though sometimes it's very uncomfortable because you're stretched far beyond what you've always been taught.
Yep.
Sorry about that. You stretch further than you've been taught. So having to unlearn is crucial. But I think getting in the proper environment is critical. I think just doing the same old things the same old way um, with the same old people um, can make you do the same old things over and over again. And if you want to progress, then that won't be a good thing. And number two, I say be very specific. And I learned this from Rod Wilson. He's a financial advisor that I follow. Whatever you want, say it and write it down. So,
Mm.
but take time to really think about that. So if you say I want to make a lot of money, that's not very specific.
Right.
A lot compared to what, because based on who you talk to and what environment you're in,
Right.
a lot could be 50 grand a year.
Yep.
In another environment, that could be 50 grand a month.
Right.
In some environments, that's 50 grand a week.
Yeah.
It's all
So true.
relative. So you have to be specific because once again, once you decide on that number or that figure or that place or that person or that neighborhood, you can start reverse engineering on how to get there. Find someone that's been there, help them. Man, well, have them help you get there. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. So just
Yeah.
to be very specific because if not, once again, you're like a Mustang going 100 miles per hour with no real direction and
Right.
no GPS. And Les Brown said it best: if you go through life casually, you may end up a casualty.
Oof.
You know. He also
So
said
good.
you live life two ways: by design and by default.
Hmm.
So if you're just like, it's Tuesday, I'm doing Tuesday stuff, but what are you doing? What's the goal?
Yeah.
Where do you want to be? It's hard to say in 10 years I want to be here. That's a long way away. Just do 2 years,
Right.
2 years. So, and then once again, where do you want to be then? It could be a weight loss journey. If you want to lose 100 pounds, that's a lot of weight. But set a deadline on it. And once again, chop it down, you know?
Right.
So, yeah,
That's
that's
so
my
good.
few
So
tidbits.
good.
And travel,
But
travel, travel,
yes,
travel. Yeah,
so
travel.
important.
Yep.
Jay, this has been fantastic. I feel like, and I feel like I need to go back. I need to go home and write down more specific plans and specific goals. I
It's,
told you earlier
it's,
that I had a few passion projects, and all of
yeah,
them are involved in exposing people to the same things that that you've been discussing. So I'm going to reformulate some of my plans, and I'm excited. So thank
good.
you so much for being
Thank
on the
you.
show. For
Let me
those
say
who
this too. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
yeah.
Now go ahead. Now go ahead.
For those of you who are catching the tail end, this will be replayed again on the Amateur Expert um, Instagram, but also will be on YouTube at the Amateur Expert, which that page or the link will be in my bio. Jay?
I just want to say, I finally meet you, I guess, in person.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I've known about you since you probably were like a little girl because you're cousin. It's one of my best friends. So now I know you really exist.
Yes,
So
I'm here.
it's good to finally see you in person. It's probably been over 20 years since I first knew you existed. So finally meeting you in person.
It's good to meet you, and I'm excited that like I said, I'm excited that we did this, and I'm happy that we were able to finally connect.
Absolutely, absolutely. But thank you for the opportunity. I definitely appreciate it.
For sure. And do you want to drop your Instagram
Absolutely.
or your contact information, so if anyone wants to get in contact with you about maybe mentorship or the credit restoration?
Absolutely. My Instagram is at JAY83 Allen ALLEN. Email address is takecontrolcredit@gmail.com. That's takecontrolcredit@gmail.com.
And I'll put all the information on the YouTube in the description box. Well, this has been great. Thanks so much, Jay.
Hey, thank you as well. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.